are about to start our meeting today with the book Christian Agenda by the Spirit André Luiz through Francisco Cândido Xavier. Message number 40. You can be sure. You can talk about kindness at every moment, but if you are not kind, it will be useless for your own happiness. Your hand can write beautiful pages on the spiritual inspirations. However, if you do not stamp the beauty of those pages onto your spirit, you will not be more than a courier without intelligence. You can read marvelous books with emotions and tears. Still, if you do not apply what you have read, you will only be a bad recorder. You can cultivate sincere convictions in matters of faith. Nevertheless, if these convictions do not serve to renew you for the good, your mind will be reduced to a mere hook whereon to hang religious maxims. Your capacity to offer guidance can discipline many people, so improve their personalities. Still, if you do not discipline yourself, the law will face you with the same severity with which it's utilized you so as to perfect others. You may know the lessons of the pathway perfectly and may, in the mortal eyes, pass to the gallery of heroes and saints. But if you do not practice the good teachings you know, the divine laws will determine that you always have to begin your work over again, each time with greater difficulty. You may call Jesus Master and Lord. However, if you do not want to learn to serve with Him, your words will sound hollow, without any meaning.
Dear God, we are united once more for the study of Spiritism, the study of your laws, the study of our behaviors, to make the necessary changes for our own happiness. Please help us and inspire us to take this opportunity to bring light to our shadows, to recognize our weaknesses, to recognize also our strengths, and to change what we already can. Please help us to participate. The more we can and share our ideas, so be it.
Welcome to all of us, ourselves and all of those in the spirit who are here with us. Please come in. Welcome. Put your bags there, yes please. Hello. Please come in here, sit around here. Welcome. Yes, hello. We are all students, we are all learners, we are learning here. If you have any book for the little ones,
yes, we've got everything there.
you can have the books there and you can read, or if you want to follow us, that's okay. Yes. So we carry on our study today, as we always do every week, about Spiritism inspiring lives. And today the subject is recycling the subconscious. We are all students, we are all learners, and we are here to recycle ourselves. Let's start in that way. Or what is coming to us when we hear about the title, Recycling the Subconscious? Our reflections will be always under the eyes as immortal beings as we are, spirits, under the eyes of the natural laws in the universe. So Spiritism is inspiring our lives in relation to recycling the unconscious. So what is that about, or what do we think it will be about?
I love the word recycling because it reminds me that everything in God's creation has a purpose. So even our shadows or the things we have to change because they are not so good, we transform them.
Mm-hmm.
So we recycle them. We don't just throw away.
Mm-hmm.
So everything that we build to ourselves in our unconscious, it's our responsibility to take those and then change them for a better being.
Good, excellent. So recycling the subconscious, we know that we are immortal beings. Depending on the psychological approach, we have the conscious, subconscious, and unconscious. Depending on the transpersonal perspective, is more conscious and unconscious, but the subconscious is part of the unconscious. As we start by Joana de Anjos in the book Self-Discovery and Inner Search. And then she says, considering the subconscious as part of the unconscious, which can surface to the consciousness with its contents altering the individual's behavior. All psychic contents, they cannot be understood and categorized by lucid consciousness composed of subconscious. So, starting to reflect about, as immortal beings as we are, we know that we don't die, we know that we are not a physical body, we know that we carry on our life as immortal beings. What do we take from this initial thought by Joana de Anjos? What is she trying to help us to reflect on?
There is information in our psyche, even when we are not aware that we can influence our behavior.
Correct. Correct. So when we take again the Jung studies, when he says that who we think we are is this, and who we unconscious memory is all of this, which is the what is under the water. So easily we have much more information on the unconscious memory than on the conscious memory. Is that right? And we may not be aware what is there on the unconscious, yet it may come through our way of being, through our behavior. Okay? Anything else here? Is it important for us to get to know what is there?
I think so.
Yes?
I think it's very, very important for us to know, because as soon as we know what is emerging, we can work on it.
Mm-hmm.
So these are the most important things, I would say,
Correct.
for us, for self-knowledge.
Yes. What is the purpose for us to be on earth, which is a school for the spirit? What is the purpose for us to be here? What is the purpose for us to be blessed with a new reincarnation?
I heard, apart from purify, I heard that is to be able to control our thoughts. Because apparently one day we will create with our thoughts, so we need to learn how to create.
Okay.
Control it, I mean.
Good. Anybody else? What is the purpose for us to be on earth?
I think is to spiritualize ourselves. It's like not living so much in the matter, and try to connect ourselves with God, and in this way maybe controlling our thoughts and feelings. And I believe that's
Okay. Anybody else?
It is to progress.
It's to progress.
We're here because we don't yet learn everything. But the more we learn, not only intellectually, but we also here to develop our, you say, emotional and also spiritual intelligence.
Okay. And all of that what you said, what is the major focus?
Main focus?
The major focus, because you said change our thinking, our thoughts. You said to progress. And Grazi said for us to re-educate ourselves. Based on what?
Love.
Huh?
Love.
Say again?
Love.
To love.
It's to be closer to God, yeah?
Yes, and how to become closer to God?
Well, she said to love your neighbors.
Okay, and how do I learn? Where is the basis? Where is the reference for me who haven't learned to love myself and the neighbors? Where is the reference that I train
The Ten
myself?
Commandments.
Who is our guide, our model? Jesus. And what is He coming to help us in our process? To educate us according to the ethical values. Does that make sense? Do we all agree that we have educated ourselves in some way when we talk about the unconscious, when we talk the subconscious? When Joana de Anjos, the great benefactor who is helping us to discover ourselves, is having a message: recycle the subconscious. Then she carries on. Cynthia, read the next one for us, please.
The tendency to keep things is innate in human beings. It is generally coercive. Thinking of the future, objects are stored, and as a result, some of them become useless.
So what are we now, as we carry on through the different slides, what is coming to our minds when we read, when we heard that? What are you laughing, Cynthia?
We keep so many things we don't need to. Imagine our subconscious.
Well, when
We're
we
talking about material.
Precisely. She starts from the known to guide us to the unknown. She is starting on the physical level, so that we go on the spiritual level, on the psychic level. When she says the tendency to keep things is innate in human beings. Do we all agree? How are our utility rooms at home? Let's focus on home. Utility rooms, the corners, yeah, the cupboards. How is that? And then she said it is generally coercive. Thinking of the future, objects are stored, and as a result, some of them become useless. What is she teaching us?
Oh, no, I'm so guilty.
We just started now the study. Why do you feel guilty?
Well, like when you buy the very expensive clothes and then the malls, they love the silk, they love the cashmere. And imagine as you spend £1,000, but you can help so many poor people. Go to the cupboard and then the malls eat it.
Okay, so what do we take apart from what has been said? Thinking of the future, objects are stored. What is Joanna Janus helping in our self-knowledge process? What is she trying to help us to become aware of?
Now. Of now? I mean, of
Thinking of the future, objects are restored. What's that telling about us?
I'm not sure if I understand correctly, but I think she's saying that like sometimes we worry about stuff which is not going to happen and you've got anxiety, or you keep things, like she said, you keep things for the future and they may never be used, so they are wasted. So I thought she maybe mean to think of now. Of
Okay,
the present.
let's see, who else?
What is important for now, I think. And she's starting the thoughts about recycling. Perhaps she's starting on the external things, and she will guide us through the internal.
Is this part? Yes, I see. I wonder. When she says here, I went far away. Thinking of the future, objects are stored. When we think of tomorrow and we have the need to store, let's say, food. Where are we psychologically and emotionally? Are we within a psychic reference more based on materialism or spiritualism?
Okay, on the
Now. What is that making sense?
Yeah.
So where then the anxiety you mentioned, thinking of the future, oh my God, I may not have it. And then we also need to look and observe us in a loving way, because we are immortal beings who went through centuries and centuries of experiences. Perhaps we went through even wars, that everything was short and we developed that anxiety and that agitation, oh my God, I need to have. Perhaps I went through a pure reincarnation where everything was lucky when I was a child. I also may have imprinted those aspects or whatever happened there. Or perhaps I was so attached to materialism that I always developed my safety and security based on having things. Could that also be an option?
Yeah.
Is that making sense? Then we store things up. Objects are stored, and as a result, some of them become useful. It's not the issue that objects are stored, because we all have things that we store, isn't it? I don't want to go to the supermarket every day, so I stored something, isn't it? For example. So it's the excesses that she's talking about, isn't it? You know, I always like Raoul Teixeira when he talks about these things. He goes back to many different generations. You know, in the old days, our moms, they have this plastic chicken and whatever, you know. I don't know if you are this type of. And then the children grow and they say, Mom, that is so ugly, that looks so horrible on the fridge. Please give rid of that. But the mom cannot give because she's attached to that. What she does? Hides it in the sun. Then later on the children grow, they go out and she thinks, clean that, say, oh, my little things that I like. She washes it and she brings it back on the fridge again. That is what Joanna Jones is saying here. To learn, when she says here, and as a result, some of them become useless. So what is the learner that she's trying to communicate to us? What do we need in a free choice to do constantly?
Just the necessity?
Recycling.
Ah, yes. Recycling.
Recycling what is useful.
Okay.
But then, would I say that we need first to recycle our minds? Because if we don't recycle, start the recycling process internally, will we be able to recycle the things, the objects? No. Why not?
Because we might feel that anxiety and feel that we need them all. So we are not focused on what we actually need, what are the basic necessities I need for living.
So I'm not aware what I need to let go. I may be attached. When you say about anxiety, my insecurity is based on having things. So I need to go through and learn to detach myself, to develop new belief systems based on the immortality, based on mind reality as a immortal being, based on my focus on what I'm on earth doing here, what I'm learning, which is really to spiritualize myself. And that changing the belief system, changing then internally my habits, then I may be ready to go and recycle whatever is useless. Does that make sense? How do we know what is useless or not? Useless or useful? Is that different for different people? And why is that difference? Why is different?
Because everyone is different.
Why are we all different?
Because we are in different levels, and some are more developed, some are less.
So because we are all unique beings in the universe, we have been created in a unique way. There's no copy and paste. Therefore, we also, through our evolution path, we use our free will in different ways, which result in different habits, and here we are as we are now. For some people, they, let's say, store less things, others more. Is that right? What do we need to do in order to recycle more the subconscious? Now focus is still on things. What do we need to learn internally? Would I be right to say that I, as a mortal being, need to learn to simplify my mind? Because when you talk recycling the subconscious means if I go on in my home, I need to simplify my mind, isn't it? Because otherwise I always have an explanation. Well, I cannot give up that one, I need that one. And then I consider that, no, but I also need that. And then I may look at that, but still I need that. So I need to change the way that I talk to me, in according to the natural laws. Is that making sense? When we simplify our minds, are we calming our hearts? Yes. Yes, that's right. Moving on then, Joanna says, occasionally the taking dusty spaces call the individual's attention. Occasionally. Can you hear what you're saying? Most of the time, everything is occupied, it's dusty. Then the individual feels the need to clean and arrange things by eliminating what is useless, rearranging what is of use, and keeping only what has practical application. That gesture represents a form of liberation, detachment to the secondary and to what was unnecessarily accumulated and had no value. What do we learn here now? Why Joanna Jones said that occasionally the taken dusty places call the attention of the individual?
Usually when it's not in a very good state, it caught our attention.
When it's not in a good state? You mean when it's very dirty, very messy, very packed? You can't find anything.
Maybe
my cupboards are all in that way, yeah?
When we are not paying attention.
When we're not paying attention to what?
To the dust.
To the dust.
So I believe it's always dusty, but if we don't stop paying attention.
Subconscious. Where is the dust placed? But you're right, you're focused on external. Are we not focused on the dust? Or can we see the dust and leave the dust there anyway? I think I have to go and clean. You see, what do you think? Some of us cannot draw our neurosis, we cannot see any tiny bit of dust. Then we are with this little clothes and all this one. That also is neurosis. But when she says here, occasionally the taking down the space is called the attention of the individual. I wonder if we are conscious all the time. I wonder if we are focused on the main reason of our lives. I wonder perhaps if we are talking about procrastination. I wonder if we are talking about laziness. I wonder, what else? Inertia. You see how we know that? Is that making sense to you? Then occasionally it's almost like we get a glimpse of consciousness. Is that making sense? And then when we see the dust, is that easy to go and clean? Are we really prompt on time?
So if instead, I know it's just like one example from outside, but instead of doing it occasionally, you can do it more often, like going through things, see what I need, what I don't need. When I'm going to buy something else, I remember that process and say, no, I don't need it because we go to this store and I don't use it. I think it's like we are more alive, even if we do subconscious as well, more active.
I think it is on a daily basis where we learn to rearrange our own values. Subconscious is part of the unconscious that we bring our values from centuries and centuries of experiences. And we all know, as more as we study, that we come from a very materialistic perspective, where our focus was on matter, on having things, and so on and so forth. Now, we learn to recycle our thinking and be more conscious that I'm not a physical body. I'm not from earth. I'm an immortal being through expressing myself through a physical body, which is my duty to respect and protect and care myself and everything else. I'm entitled to have my home, whatever it is, but without excesses. So I'm recycling, renewing, rearranging my own thinking on a daily basis. Then I think gradually, as we are forming new values, new concepts, it becomes easier. If I have the habit to go and store things, well, wait a minute, I have plenty at home. So I choose not to buy now. I'm rearranging my values. And if there is dust there, instead of saying, well, tomorrow I do it, go and do it now. Learn to be active now. Then we break the inertia, the laziness, the procrastination. Is that making sense? Then we stimulate our minds.
Living more in the present.
More in the present. Because the only moment that we can do something in relation to our past, future, is here now, in the present. And when we act according to the natural laws in the present, we are impacting the past and the future. We break through our limitations and we build already our new concepts and values. Is that making sense? And then when we go to buy something again, bear in mind what is our goal on earth. I don't want to accumulate anymore, I want to simplify myself. This is why I'm back on school earth. Do I really need that? Not really. So I just pass by the shop and I choose not to do that. Or if I buy something, I really like that, I buy something and something goes. Is that recycling? I take to the charity and not just accumulate. No, I leave it there for later on. Perhaps we have clothes when we were in different stages in our lives, isn't it? You know what I mean? we were in some phase in our lives, number whatever, 38. And suddenly things change and now we are 42. But we keep all of the dresses there in case I go back, I still have them there. And then it goes by 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, and this thing is there. That is what Joanna says. Recycle, pass it on. Is that making sense? Yeah? And then she carries on. Grazie. Read it for us, please. Next one.
Periodically, it is imperative to take such energetic attitude regarding the deposits of the subconscious on behalf of self-realization. To remove psychological trash is fundamental for a healthy existence.
What is the benefactor Joanna de Angelis helping us here in our learning process? How is that coming to us? How would we express our understanding with our own words? It is imperative to take such energetic attitude regarding the deposits of the subconscious. What is she meaning by that?
Which attitude she's talking about? The one we were just talking about?
What?
The energetic attitude. Which attitude she means exactly?
That is what I'm trying to find out. That is what my question is about. Periodically, it is imperative to take such energetic attitude regarding the deposits of the subconscious. Why is she saying such energetic attitude regarding the subconscious deposits?
I see it when we are, let's say, in those cycles of bad thoughts, and then we just shake up, like wake up. No, I won't, I will stop it. You will stop it now, and then replace it with something which is better for myself. Could be a word or a phrase, but I don't want to to continue with the cycle of negative thoughts and see it as this shaker with an energetic attitude.
Who else?
I think it's to look by ourselves, to yourself, then do some reflections about what are you doing or your behaviors and thinkings.
Grazie.
I think is that deep analysis and self-knowledge of what is emerging and if it's according or not with God's law, and then trying to recycle if they are against the God's law.
Let's think together. We are all learners, me, all of you, all of us here. We are learning. Conscious level active? Yes or no? Yes. In this period that we are here on earth studying now, is the conscious beliefs, are they stronger than the subconscious?
No.
If you take our history from centuries and centuries, is that the past experiences that we repeated unconsciously, are those patterns stronger than what we are learning now here?
Yes.
Yes, so that is what she says, energetic attitude. Why? In order to break through the old habits. For instance, if you take a habit, oh my God, I still store that, I still keep that dress, for instance, that shoes, whatever, and I never use it. Because it's not only the shoes and the dress, it's my emotional attachment to that can be very, very strong on my unconscious mind. So the energetic means learn to be assertive with you, to make new choices and just go and do what is right to do according to what you learned in the present. And in that way, we are really changing the deposits from the unconscious. Deposit the old values, old belief systems, or all emotional responses. Because usually when we are talking here, recycling the subconscious, we are talking of emotional attachment to our experiences. Is that making sense? And that is the hardest way when we are talking about recycling and when we are talking about letting go things. For some people it can be very, very emotional. Is that making sense? Clear? And then she carries on. So on behalf of self-realization, what is Joanna de Angelis meaning here actually? Periodically it is imperative to take such an energetic attitude regarding the deposit of the subconscious on behalf of self-realization.
No, I think what you need is that, like, do it so you can really, like, self-realize yourself. You have to do all these things in order to, like, renew yourself.
Okay, to renew us, what else?
To be happy.
To be happier, what else? What else?
To grow.
To grow, what else? One thing is written on the wall. What else?
The cycle. The cycle.
What else? We become healthier. Is that not written there? Yes, fundament for a healthy existence.
Yes.
What else improves in us? When we recycle, we become lighter, we simplify our minds, therefore we simplify our lives, we are less worried, less concerned. Is that making sense? Mm-hmm. Self-realization is what? The process of bringing meaning, real meaning to our lives, isn't it?
Yeah.
The meanings based on the natural laws in the universe. With understanding that we are immortal beings, that we are growing, that we are progressing, that we are evolving, and no one can evolve and progress having the same habit, doing the same thing every day, every day. We need to break free, we need to break through. Is that clear? Mm-hmm. Do we feel strong enough to do that?
Sometimes yes. Sometimes.
How is our homes? Don't say to me, just think. Is it simplified? Is it more or less organized? Or where are we? Because the home talks about us, isn't it? The way that our homes are, the dust that you feel like running home and clean the dust. That is about us. The past certainly influences the present, says Joanna de Angelis. The more conscious the past is and eliminated in a lucid and coherent manner, the better it is for future planning. What is Joanna de Angelis teaching us here? first thing that we can ask ourselves, why is Joanna generally saying that the past certainly influences the present? Why?
Sometimes we can spend a lot of time thinking about past experiences and actually not living the present. So that's why it has an influence. But it depends on our attachment or our lack of forgiveness or love. The influence will be great more or less.
Okay. In which way could we, as immortal beings who are blessed with a new existence here on earth, in which way could we be driven by our past? Or in which way people could be driven through their past experiences in the present?
Perhaps when they are just living the past and they cannot connect to the present, or when we start everything we do in the present, we do thinking about things in the past.
Okay. In the past, when I say past, where is your mind going? In this existence in the past or in previous existences?
Previous existence.
Previous existences, okay. Can we also get stuck in the past in this existence?
Yeah.
In which way?
Not forgiving
Not forgiving who?
us and others.
My parents, for instance, yes, because if you consider this existence, or my brothers, whatever happened there, yes. What else can we get stuck in this existence that still may influence the present?
No, you may not forgive yourself for something you've done, and let's say you either lose faith, or you lose your mind, or you cannot be happy no more because you keep thinking, "No, I've done this. I'm a bad person."
Okay. Also, if we are coming from a pure past in this existence, we already may have changed our situation. We went on in life, we took responsibility, we studied, we have a good job now, we have good salary, good income, but emotionally I still have that reference of lacking everything from my past. Is that possible? That is also possible. Now imagine when we look back to different existences. So it's very important that a cycling process happening on a daily basis, that we actualize ourselves. And then she says, the more conscious the past is and eliminated in a lucid created manner, the better it is for the future planning. Why? So when we said previously that the objective to be on earth is to evolve, is to progress, then here she says now very clearly, in order for us to evolve and progress, we go through the self-education process in changing our values and concepts. Therefore, we become more aware of the unconscious, and we choose to guide our lives more from the conscious level onwards. Therefore, we are less dependable on our unconscious memory. We are less dependable on our past experiences. Does that make sense? And here, past could be the past minute, the past day, the past hour, the past existence, and so on and so forth. Once a disciple had his residence destroyed by fire. He then complained to his master about the disgrace that happened to him. The wise man, who was an admirable innate psychoanalyst, jovially replied that now it would be a lot easier and natural for him to face death by the severe imposition of detachment. What do we learn here by the words of Joanna Genesis?
Two very different points of view.
Such as?
The first one, the disciple was totally focused on matter and what he
Correct. This first verse helps us to reflect about where I am as a mortal being in relation to what is on the material level onwards. House, cars, belongings, is that important? My safety is attached to that, because that is what she's saying here when we're talking about recycling the subconscious. So once the disciple has his residence destroyed, then he complained to Master about disgrace. He, the disciple, and that could be a lot of us sometimes when we go through the experiences, that we attracted in order to restructure ourselves. But when we look the experiences from a childish viewpoint, we say, oh my God, do you know which disgrace happened to me? But then the wise man said, what? How do we translate his teachings? Now you are free. to face real life. Is that it?
Now you have less distractions.
Yes, because now they don't have to, if their faces, which is a natural process for us, we don't believe in death as the end. For us, the death only on the physical body, but we are immortal, therefore we continue our learning, we are still alive. So if we have less things on the physical level to be concerned, to be attached, which holds us back, freer we are, readier we are to face this natural experience. Is that making sense?
So once the disciple disincarnates, he will feel lighter, and he will be not so attached to even to his physical body, right?
Also, because if we are attached to the material things, he is referring to the residence, that also means for sure that we also are attached to the physical body. Because once we free ourselves from the materialistic aspects, we gradually also become more relative on the way that we perceive ourselves. Because the change, the recycle aspect happens from in out, isn't it? We actualize as immortal being our own concepts. Anything else? Does the severe imposition of detachment bring pain to a lot of people when death arrives? Yes or no? Yes? A lot of sufferings? Yes. So here we are learning to recycle our subconscious so that we also learn to free ourselves and understand the experiences on earth as natural when it comes to death, so that we are not disturbing ourselves by it. Now we move on with Joanna Jangelis, and it's your turn, Vanessa, please.
It is indispensable to allow the fire of lucidity to destroy the residence of passions where each one conceals and where neurotic seasonings and stormy fixations are located. Thus, one can face one's own experience without disguises and with open feelings to new values and new achievements.
So what are we learning now? Recycling the subconscious by these slides. What's coming to our minds?
That's a radical way to cycle with
You are hearing as a radical.
Yeah.
I think she's very assertive. Why radical?
I find it very nice, very beautiful the way she wrote about the fire of lucidity to destroy the residence of passions, where each one conceals and where neurotic seasonings and strong fixations are located. Because when we act without reason, it's always a turmoil, it's always a lot of problems we face.
So where is the residence of our passions? Very reflecting about that. And then now what we wisely choose to do when those, let's say, aspects come to the conscious level. To carry on disturbing ourselves? No?
No, we don't want it to be.
You need a moment to recycle it, yeah? I can see. Okay. Do you want to say something to me?
Yeah, the fire of lucidity made me think of the prayer of Caritas, where there's a part where it says, one ray of light of your love could destroy all of the suffering and all of the pain. And then when we look at, if we go to the study on Monday and we're talking about being co-creators of the Lord, so one ray of light, one fire, one flame, one decision, one impulse, where we're moving from the desire to the intention of wanting to modify each other, and at the end where she puts without disguises, again without any pretense, being who we are, accepting our imperfections in a active way, not accepting in a passive way, I am like this and that's it. But being aware of it and then using that flame and that fire and that power really to try and modify it, because if we try and do it, and somebody mentioned it in one of our our studies, the mediumistic studies, when I'm too soft with myself, I don't get things done. And it's not about being aggressive, but it's about being assertive.
Yes.
And this is what Joanne is saying. It's like, enough is enough with ourselves.
She said, please let me go back before you arrived, when she said, let me find it here, to take such energetic attitude, when you just said now, the assertiveness. Otherwise, the laziness, the procrastination, whatever we bring there, can still, once more, to stop us or to impede us to take the right action, the right move.
Again, and Haroldo mentions in 1 minute of the manual as well, where one of the letters it says, because we've always been through humanity bringing out our swords to fight the outside when we didn't like it, to fight injustice, but now it's time to to put away the sword and to actually start that inner, it's almost an inner battle. It's not the nicest of words, almost an inner battle with the subconscious, and really try to get in there and see what are my real intentions, who am I really.
And to defend
it's not
ourselves.
pretty when you look at it. It's not nice.
But it's healthy.
But it's very healthy, yeah.
Yes, even if it's uncomfortable, and it will be uncomfortable for those of us who allow ourselves to go in different phases, but it's necessary. So it's almost like allowing ourselves to be honest with ourselves, not to elude ourselves again. And then whatever is uncomfortable is healthy from a transpersonal perspective. We cannot evolve unless we reach those limitations or those unhealthy aspects of us, those shadows. Correct? So it's always helping us. Were we here? Can we go now?
Yeah, we've done this.
We did that one?
That's the
Here the one, yes. Therefore, it is necessary to mentally get in one's own self in order to evaluate childlike impressions, raise as a role model, shocks that were not observed, ghosts created by imagination, and fears cultivated by playful fantasy. Oh my God, she's telling a lot here, yeah? If you take each one separately, it's necessary to mentally get, it's just what you said, to get in, to learn, to be willing to meet who we really are, in order to evaluate childlike impressions. What is that? If you just stay with the first one, what do we understand by this?
Is when we are a child, we might remember some our childhood not in a good way. Perhaps if we have an authority mother or a suffering we might had. So we had to evaluate what I filed in my memory. And first of all, forgive. Remember to be grateful for our parents, what they've done, it was the best they could. Second of all, we have to start working on this. If I file in a not good way in myself, I need to do something different.
To recycle.
Recycle.
Yeah? What else?
Is to look after our inner child.
Yes.
There are a lot of lectures today. Also, Robert told me about the inner child. Because I think we got to a point where we are adults, having a relationship with adults, but like with the inner child being another inner child.
So we are relating on a chronological age with adults, but on a psychological age with children. How do we have the evidence of that?
A lot of fights.
A lot of fights, a lot of disagreements, a lot of hate, yeah? Because we haven't sorted out, we haven't recycled these files here. Others may went through, what else can we go through as a child, as you said? A very powerful mother, which is very aggressive, very positional, or a very distant father. I may feel very without love. So whatever happened in our childhood, bear in mind where we are now. Our parents gave the best that they could, and we as adults now, we can choose to be our own mothers, our own fathers, and to offer to us what they didn't.
This childlike impressions also makes me look at it in a different angle of sometimes the impressions we make are childish.
Yeah.
So we'll look at situations like children, but I want it now. I need to have it. This is good for me. And then our benefactors or our programming is saying, oh no, it's not for you right now. Yeah, but I want it, you know. So this is the childlike impressions which we imprint, and then once we don't get it, we get frustrated, instead of having an adult-like impression of situations, which is accepting, going through frustrations.
What would I explain to me if I want to have something as an adult now, and I'm aware there is maybe my childlike impressions? What do I tell to myself to overcome that memory?
Well, if it's childlike, then we need to be loving as we would with a child.
Then I would explain to me rationally, yes, I notice that I feel like having A, B, or C. Yet, according to the natural universal laws, I have exactly what I need. Therefore, if that is not part, because it's not part of my life, that means it is a blessing of heaven. So I give rational explanations based on the natural laws. Therefore, what will happen in our hearts? We calm down, we let go, we accept. We cannot have everything on earth, and we all came to do different things as learners. Is that right?
And then we start developing the adult-like, which is the gratitude.
Gratitude. We develop the free will in a responsible way. We stop fighting with ourselves and therefore with others, because I want this. I calm myself. We only calm ourselves when we re-edit our belief systems according to the natural laws. Is that making sense? Oh, I want so much to have a partner. Well, if you didn't arrive at my 50, 60, better give me up and understand, yes?
No.
No! So,
Why? Divato Franco got a girlfriend at 92, yes?
Divato Franco?
Yes, I think when he was like a couple of years ago, last year in London, and he had a 92 birthday.
Mm.
Yeah. And they were saying that, oh, he got a girlfriend now.
No, he was just joking. He was just joking.
About the joke.
But it's almost like understanding. Really, when we open our hearts and minds in terms of understanding what life is on earth, beyond the materialistic way, we are immortal beings. We came with a specific task that we implore to go through in order to learn, in order to upgrade ourselves as a spirit. And the truth is that we cannot have everything all the time. Why? Because we need to go through different experiences in order to get different learnings. Imagine if I'm a woman, always a little woman, and I come always back in a female body, and I always in the marriage process. Will I learn to be independent? To stand up for myself, to learn to do things? I'm always depending on somebody else, yes? And if the other is not there, oh my God, I get depressed. I don't know how to change a lamp. Now I'm being very... We are spirits. We need to challenge ourselves. So at times we are with partners, other times not. Sometimes we come with a proposal to have a family, other times not. When it's the time that we are not with a biological family, certainly our proposal is with the universal family. We have plenty of beings to love, to be loved. And if we grow even more, we don't need to be loved. Just loving in the mature way, we feel good, we feel grounded, we feel solid.
I was thinking about even friendship, because we ask for a lot of things, and I was thinking to myself, he came to me. I was thinking to myself, you know, I always wanted a lot of friends, and it's easy to want friends, but am I a friend? And it's that idea of changing, shifting the ideas of what it is that we want, and most of the times, what we want from others, we're not willing to give back. So it's that.
Why?
If I do, because we're selfish and pride.
Correct. Because we are selfish and we have been too long in a position of receiving.
Yeah. So it's the same in a relationship. I want to be in a relationship, but am I willing to be in a relationship? Well, if not, then maybe there's something else I need to learn. I want that, I don't know, that career, but am I really willing to give up my spirituality for it? You know, so then it's measuring the two out of it, and then once I do that, I think it's less of a childlike impression, and I start doing a little bit like the superior spirits do, which is being grateful when their wishes are not being met. Maria Dolores is in prayer. Thank you, Lord, for not giving me what I've asked for.
Yes. Joanna Jones in the book Psychology of Gratitude, she also explains that. As more as we mature, we learn to be grateful for the good that life presents to us. We are grateful for the bad that did not come to us, and we are grateful for the bad as we see it that came to us. Sounds crazy, isn't it? For the children, but not for others. Because our lenses as a child, we may say, my God, that was a disaster in my life. But from the spiritual perspective one was a blessing. So as more as we mature, less we have these limitations within. And then we carry on here, the next one. Then one reevaluates their meanings and also selects them in order to discard the afflicting ones and preserve the enriching impressions that provide welfare. Remember here, I forgot to go through. Which examples do we have? Regis role model. Can we still have it as an adult?
Yeah.
How much of our mamas and dads are we still carrying within? Do we have the courage to ask ourselves? And what we carry, is that useful for our evolution? Or are we just behaving the same way that my mom did because it's my mom? But do I know where I want to go as a mortal being? Which kind of values do I want to develop to sustain myself? Could also be a teacher sometimes, but are the main people who are part in our development process as children. Shocks that were not observed by imagination, ghosts created by imagination. Does anyone have any ghosts still today? Is our imagination fertile? Yes. So we need to recycle that, yeah? Always in accordance to the natural laws as immortal beings. What do I want to inhire for myself in the next moment, the next day, the next month, the next year, the next existences? Because I'm responsible for my destiny. Do I want to complicate more or do I want to simplify more? Simplify. The objective that Joanna Jones is referring here, recycling the subconscious, is an invitation for us to simplify ourselves. And therefore, we are becoming healthier, lighter, happier.
I just didn't understand the playful, the fears cultivated by playful fantasy. Can you give us an example?
I wonder if that has to do with the playful fantasy from a childish perspective onwards. We think and we create or we imagine experiences on another level from a childish perspective, such as?
Well, an example as a child, for example, we turn off the lights, there's nothing on the room, but the mind keeps playing, oh, there might be something, and we keep with the same pattern as adults.
Oh, I see.
Not with the same situation, but creating things that doesn't exist.
Which are based on the irrational thinking, isn't it? When faced on the adult rational level. And they may be different. It doesn't come to my mind now, another one. Does anyone have another example?
I don't know if this is within this realm. Remember, Iris Sinotti gave one example of someone who was afraid of, wanted to ask something, asking the neighbor to borrow something, but didn't have the courage, have the fear. Then he started to talking, saying, oh, I might ask the neighbor, might say this, might say that, and in the end, just knocked the door and said, I don't want it borrowed anymore. And then the neighbor didn't understand what was going on. And the other person had this whole thing, yes, happening.
Don't we have a lot of inner dialogues? Not us, the people outside.
No, we do.
We do.
But it's almost, if we're not careful, it can border on to paranoia.
It could be lead us to self-obsession, and obsession, and on the paranoia, and so on. It will deteriorate more and more if we don't take care of that. And we may develop even animosity with someone, because we feed those things and we carry on and thinking, and we create and we think, which is based on our unconscious mind, the rubbish that we carry. Is that making sense? Yeah.
Nobody recycled the rubbish.
Huh?
Nobody recycled the rubbish.
This is why we are here thinking about these fundamental things in our lives, yes?
And it's such a waste of time and energy.
It is a waste of energy, is immense. And this is why we can feel sometimes drained when we enter into this negative loop. Because in order to feed this loop, we are losing our energy. And then we become depressed, without energy. So what Joanna Jones or the Enlightened Spirits are helping us boost the energy to recycle the subconscious, focus on the goal, In that way, we are not feeling tired, we are feeling lighter, because we are using the energy to recycle our own negative, toxic energy. Does that make any sense? Because when you talk about all these astonishing things that we bring from our unconscious level through our values and behaviors, that also requires energy to hold and keep that in our subconscious. Does that make sense? We can even become ill. Then we carry on. Would you like to read it for us the next one?
It is important to fulfill this task without a self-pity, self-criticism, self-punishment, or self-justification. The individual should select things and serenely analyze them in order to renew oneself by means of courage. Courage glimpses and drives one towards the goal of safety without nostalgia of the past.
Would you like to comment? I think we go through gradually, then it's easy. If we start at the beginning, the first sentence, when she says, it is important to fulfill this task without self-pity, self-criticism, self-punishment, and self-justification.
That's really good.
That is the rubbish that we carry on the subconscious, isn't it?
Yeah, so all these things we, let's say the criticism we say to ourselves, all these things, imperfections we think we have, we should just not to mention.
If we were to use or take from here onwards to here,
yeah,
and summarize that in one or two words.
Maybe guilt,
Guilt,
yeah,
instead of moving
Pride.
forward and renewing.
pride,
self-justification is pride, isn't it?
anything else? In one word.
Ah.
We are learning with Emmanuel to be very synthetic, I think, very economic. What would that be? Correct me if I'm wrong. If I would say victimization.
Yes.
Ah, okay. So when we are over here, we are feeding the victimization. Poor me. Isn't it? Poor me. Then that is clear. Then the second part is the individual should select things and serenely analyze them in order to renew oneself by means of courage. What is Ramajan just trying to tell us? The individual is us, all of us, should select things serenely.
So
How can I reach that point?
like for example, yes, we've got this. To select, do we select from this? After we take the self-pity and everything, what's left, you mean? Or do we select from the self-pity?
No, I think she is starting by saying it is important to fulfill this task, which is to select, yes, which is to recycle our subconscious without victimization. Let's put it like that.
Yes.
The individual should select things in a serenely and serenely analyze them. Initially, we may not be serene. Would you agree with me? When I start with my emotional disturbances based on attachment of things, I may be very sentimental. It does look, some people may feel very hard even to let go cards from 5-10 years back. Then they say there's an emotional sentiment attached to that. Have you heard about that? How do we handle that?
Not good.
But how do we handle that?
I think she's trying to say for us to rationalize, try to think with calm, and then try to...
But I'm not calm. Let go and calm, something
The first step is to acknowledge that I am like that and not try to say, well, give justifications. Not to justify that thing. So, okay, now I'm attached to this chair right now, and I know that about myself, and I know it's a material attachment. The conversation is honest. I'm talking to myself as I would with my inner child, and I know what this means to me at the moment. So now, how am I going to start modifying this? I need to make a choice. Do I really want to let go of it? Why do I want to let go of it? Well, because I think it's going to benefit others, and it's going to be good for me. Okay, so how am I going to do that? When am I going to do that? And we can only do that serenely, because if we do that by saying, my God, but I'm so attached to the chair, I'm so stupid for being attached to the chair, shouldn't be like that. But you know, I'm attached to the chair because I never had anybody else to be able to be attached to. That's why I'm in the chair. And you know, poor me because I'm in this situation. Then we're not being serene. We're justifying it with victimization. So the conversation, the internal conversation, needs to be loving, and it doesn't mean I'm going to let go of the chair immediately, but it's the first step. And, it's
and the
first
inner conversation departs from where? As immortal spirits. When you said we need to acknowledge, correct, we need to acknowledge, because what we don't acknowledge, we will not be able to transform, to recycle. But it will help a lot for us within Spiritism to always start our analysis or reflections based as immortal being. Here I am, noticing that I'm attached to the chair, whatever. Then I start to dialogue from the viewpoint as immortal being, that I'm learning, I'm aware of my attachment, I'm aware already consciously that it's not much rational what I'm doing. I'm aware of the new references, although I'm also aware of my old emotional responses, and I dialogue and embrace with that, and I go gradually through the changing processes.
And remembering that usually when we're cultivating negative emotions, we're not alone. So the moment I start doing this process, it's almost like I'm recycling the energy of those that are with me and thinking the same way. So it's a work of charity, doing that for ourselves.
And it's much deeper than one initially can think of. If you follow what your viewpoint. Because again, who is with us? Sometimes we may not know. But when we consider as immortal beings as we are, that we have lived for centuries and centuries, and not alone, we live with others, and we cultivate other values with others, and those may also be with us, attached to a chair, attached to this. So if I'm attached, others may also be attached to my values, which are the same than theirs. So when we start the detachment process through rationalization and using the free will, giving rational explanations to us, we are helping us, we learn to be charitable with us and with others too. Yeah. And then whatever she says here, courage glimpses and drives one towards a goal of safety without nostalgia of the past. What is courage?
To be brave.
To be brave.
Not to be afraid. Yeah?
To stimulate the divine force within us. The divine power within us. To stimulate the greatest power in the universe which we carry within, which is love. If you love, are we afraid of letting go? Are we attached? We use things relatively. And if it's not there anymore, so be it. Love is freedom. It's not attached to things or people. Then the next one, Joanna says, the individual must recycle the subconscious by freeing oneself from the anesthetizing and disturbing substrates, and also by filling the spaces with new elements, varied or stable irradiation to advance in the conquest of the inner self. How do we fill ourselves? As we are already recycling, that means we have more inner space. What do we do? The new values, the new belief systems, the new concepts that we choose, that we bring in, that we accept, will that not irradiate us from within? Are we not in that way fortifying, stimulating ourself, the essence of us, and we are, let's say, restructuring our ego state of mind? Yeah. The next one. So, would you like to read it for us, please?
When the individual wants, he is able to carry it out, depending on the efforts that one applies to achieve it. The endeavor when will directed by a clear and objective thought without conflict, creates future conditionings through the field messages. Then the individual reestablishes the subconscious data, that in turn will respond later to the correct information of what is requested.
So what are we learning here now? Carry on our reflections regarding recycling the subconscious.
The subconscious will always exist, or as more we evolve, the more conscious we are.
In my understanding, we become from a transpersonal perspective. We have different schools in psychology on earth. For some it's conscious, subconscious, unconscious. The transpersonal psychological perspective works a lot conscious and unconscious, because subconscious is a different division from the unconscious. Does that make sense? So it's that is more closer to the conscious. And as more as we are, let's say, embracing, going towards meeting ourselves and become aware of the unconscious, I think that is cleansing, and we are reintegrating that. When we take Jung's picture, as it says, as more as we become aware, more we are integrating that, isn't it? Of course, the totality is when we are in a perfect world.
But I think that maybe that, I don't know, Nisa, would you say that maybe this this dive that we do for the unconscious will become less painful? It will become a little bit, there'll be more of a stability in getting to know the two parts, or?
When I think in recycling here, when I recycle, when we do a spring clean on a house, for example, I will throw away a lot of things, isn't it? I have less, but better, with quality. And when we reflect that the truth is within, as we know already, so as more as we recycle what is referring to untruth in terms of values and concepts, then I guess we are ending up more centered and with less these division parts as we have it now in this level of evolution where we are. Does that make sense? Then the next one says, self-suggestion, positive memory resources, visualizations and prayer refuel the individual with values that will stimulate the core of moral and psychological development. In the future, those will be transformed in sensations of peace, mental clarity, generous impulses, and balanced attitudes. What is Joanna de Angelis helping us here in this recycling process?
I think that's what we're all aiming for, isn't it?
Yeah. Is it easy for us to embrace with the self-suggesting process? Are we within the process of self-suggesting us? Yes or no? But are we on referring of a recycling process, or are we reinforcing?
That's the question.
That is the question, yeah? Because we all are thinking, aren't we? And when we think, we are suggesting. But when we are full of rubbish, when we are heavy, when we are tired, when we are depressed, we are in this self-suggestion in a toxic way. So we need to become aware and recycle and choose to incorporate new thoughts, new belief systems. Positive memory resources. Oh my God, my life is so misery in my perspective. Now, as I embrace myself as a child of God, as a being who is evolving, everything that is part in my life at present is a gift of God for me to await the higher resources within. So I develop positive, realistic references. Visualization and prayer. Is it easy for us to visualize ourselves in a constructive way? Did you understand what I said? Yes. Is it easy to have a self-positive image?
For some, easier than for others.
Okay. Again, if it's not my case, I can train myself, I can start. Because we always start when we are. And prayer. Is prayer a habit in our lives already? Because she said it refuels the individual with values that stimulate the core, the center. Is prayer part? Is it easy for us to pray? Silence. Yes or no?
I'm with the prayer because I come from the Catholic background, but it didn't never make sense to repeat. I don't know what I do, but I basically talk in my head all the time. Do you count as a prayer? Because what do you call prayer?
Prayer within Spiritism, if we are learning, and sometimes it's good to go back on the last part in the Gospel according to Spiritism, there are a lot of examples of prayers. But the main point for us, I also came in my childhood from the Catholicism, but for us in Spiritism is learning to pray from the heart, to use our own words. And as more as we learn to make that connection better, we become in a dialogue in relation to our Creator.
So basically like a mental conversation.
Yeah. Are we okay here? Human beings have inner potentials for fullness that remains to be uncovered as the precious moon that lies within the rough grave. The brain reacts according to the mind's command and externalizes the mind through itself because it functions as an instrument. What is Joanna de Angelis teaching us here regarding recycling the unconscious? Why? My question would be, why is Joanna de Angelis saying us that human beings have inner potentials for fullness that remain to be uncovered? What is she meaning by that?
There are some things we haven't discovered yet.
Remember, something, I think there's a lot of things that we haven't yet. Because let's understand, we all have been created by God, simple and ignorant, yet we bring the germs of the natural laws within. Therefore, there are a lot of potentials that to overcome our own limitations, they are all there. Because they are called, they virtues. Virtues. And in that way we are also stimulating our brain. Emotional and psychological renewal should be a natural and constant activity. Why?
You need to recycle all the time because the new rubbish comes in.
Because we are all evolving. We are in the evolution process. Therefore, if we don't choose to recycle, we get stuck, although it is temporary. But in order to renew ourselves, yes, that's what happens. As a whole, self prevails when one is lucid and awake. The spirit is the agent that sows and ripes according to the quality of the material that it utilizes. What do we learn here? So as more as we develop self-knowledge, self-awareness, are we stimulated more the self-level onwards within the divine aspect, the superior potentials that we all bring within. Therefore, the ego, which is unbalanced, will become balanced and submit itself to the self. The spirit is the agent that sows and ripes. Are we conscious on a daily basis?
Reaps.
What?
Reaps.
And we reaps. What are we sowing? Do we know what we are sowing on a daily basis? Do we know what we are reaping on a daily basis?
So is it like they say you reap what you sow, or you sleep how you make your bed? Is that what they're referring to? That
Pretty much.
whatever we do, we're gonna like action reaction. Whatever we do is gonna have an effect.
Yeah. If you take the example of the bed that you said, if I'm an immortal being, which I am, and I wake up and I say, well, I don't need to organize my bed, what is the point? And the evening I lie there again, everything's a mess. Leave it there in that way, and off I go, come back and lie in the same position again. Is that telling about my psychological and emotional references? Yes. So if I know now, that is my habit so far, but I choose now to become more organized within. So I recycled my old way of thinking, and I choose to organize the bed every day. By the end of an existence, I'm much stronger. Does that make sense? Yes. Anything else?
But I mean, this is a great example of the bed, because the simple acknowledgement and the simple act that Joanna talks about, even cleaning out your drawers, or choosing, I think Cynthia was talking something about that, the choice of wanting to brush your hair or to complete a task that's self-care. And if we do it with intention and with a goal, we're transforming our subconscious, so we're bringing that up. So knowing, looking that I'm a messy person, okay, I'm messy, but now I want to change, and I can't change from one night to day because I may be radical one day and clean everything, and in 2 days' time it's messy again. What's that saying about me? So how can I maintain a more constant tidiness within the physical? Because the matter is here to help us, isn't it?
But that is the way that we are learning to grow and recycle, and it's the most simple things on a daily basis. How we eat, how we sleep, how we do shopping, how we carry on in our lives. And then in order to finalize our study today, Joanna says, ascension is an experience that begins in the desire of raising above. Conquest after conquest, it consolidates wise and intelligence impulses, achieving the dreamed state of fullness. Conscious or subconsciously, whoever intends it can reach it. What is she trying to say to us? We all are on the pathway of recycling, of growing, of learning. And as more conscious we are, and as more willing we are, participating actively in this process, more we can do in this existence what is possible for us. Do you feel stimulated to start to recycle more? Thoughts, feelings, habits, and in that way we are coming to the end. And I ask Vanessa to do a closing prayer, please, today.
Dear Lord, Master Jesus, benefactor spirits, friends, with our hearts filled with gratitude, we would like to remember that we are immortal spirits. We would like to remember that we are all in a path of growth, in a path of learning. And Spiritism comes along to help us to develop the force of love and peace within ourselves. We give thanks for these moments and for all of those that join us. And may we, united in thought and in feelings, continue our studies, emanating from within ourselves peace wherever we find ourselves. So be it.
Much peace to all, and I hope to see you next week. God bless us all.